I'm a male beta, married to a top-tier alpha husband. He's from a prestigious family, refined, gentle, well-mannered. The only thing he's ever done that broke the rules was marrying me. No one blessed our wedding. We didn't care. But on our 3rd anniversary, I couldn't take it anymore. I asked for a divorce, because if I didn't leave soon, that pile of things in the basement would end up inside me. Baby, what did you just say? Say it again. Corbin's voice was soft, like he really just hadn't heard me clearly. I instinctively tightened my grip on the chopsticks in my hand, staring at the full spread of breakfast he'd made. The words "I want a divorce" stuck in my throat. Is it about last night? The moment he brought up last night, my face flushed hot. I felt like a boiled shrimp curling into itself. Too bad my sore waist didn't allow it. Corbin gazed at me, his handsome and gentle face tinged with helplessness. After a moment, a soft laugh rumbled from his throat. He got up, walked over, and pulled me into his arms. I instinctively spread my legs and straddled his lap, resting my chin on his shoulder in defeat. Let's not talk about last night anymore. My voice came out pleading, as I pressed my warm cheek against him. Corbin had always been easy to talk to, just like now, facing my request. He nodded and warmed his palms before gently massaging my lower back. Okay, we won't talk about it. Hearing his promise, I finally relaxed. The pressure on my waist felt nice, and with my stomach full, I started to get drowsy. Sleepiness fogged my mind, and I mumbled, "I want a divorce." The sudden pressure on my waist snapped me wide awake. As I tried to get up, Corbin pressed down right on my sensitive spot. I instantly lost all strength. My calves, still twitchy from all the spasms last night, couldn't even hold me upright. Dawson. Corbin rarely called me by name. It was usually baby or darling. This was only the second time he'd said my full name in that tone. The first time was at a class reunion when I got a little drunk and chatted with my first love for a while. Then I turned around and saw Corbin standing in the shadows, holding an umbrella. He was smiling, but his voice was like a rainy day, cold and damp. The pheromones from an S-class alpha were overpowering. I could barely breathe, let alone a beta like my ex. That time, Corbin also smiled faintly and softly called, "Dawson." I stiffened and hurried over under his umbrella, nervously introducing the disappointed first love. "This is my husband, Corbin." The suffocating pheromones vanished in an instant. Corbin even wrapped an arm around my waist and politely said goodbye. That night, he cooked a huge dinner. I naively thought the whole thing had blown over, until that long regressed, deeply buried reproductive cavity of mine was ruthlessly forced open. Only then did I realize, Corbin hadn't let it go at all. I remembered how I had to take a week off afterward, and my throat trembled with fear. While he was distracted, I slipped out of his arms and bent down to escape. "We're gonna be late for work, I'll go ahead. You, think about it, okay?" Whether Corbin would think it over, I had no idea. I only knew one thing. I was about to have a full-blown anxiety attack at my desk. 2. Just as I was about to get up and make some tea, my phone buzzed. It wasn't Corbin, it was a college roommate, now a programmer. He only sent a few words, followed by a shocked emoji. "Dawson, your phone has a hidden tracking app." I leaned back in my chair and let out a slow breath. Just as I suspected, I remembered a few days ago when Corbin asked me to grab something from his nightstand, and I accidentally caught sight of a tiny camera pointing straight at the bed. That moment, a deep sense of powerlessness washed over me. "Yeah, got it, thanks. I'll treat you to a meal sometime." He hesitated. "Aren't you gonna report it?" My heart skipped. I quickly typed, No, it's just something between me and my partner, you know what I mean." He sent back a suggestive meme. We chatted for a few more lines before I logged off. I stared at my desktop wallpaper, thinking, compared to the tracking and monitoring, what's really terrifying is what's in the basement. Terrifying enough to feel completely at odds with the Corbin I thought I knew. And that brought me back to why I married him in the first place. Back then, I'd just graduated, no job, temporarily living at home. Well, home might be too generous. My mom, a strong-willed Omega, died in a car accident when I was 10. My beta father, who'd lived a quiet life until then, remarried just a month after her funeral, another beta. Not long after, they had an Omega son with a genetic illness. My stepmother wasn't exactly mean, but she was indifferent. My father sent me to boarding school, transferred money each month like clockwork. During holidays, when I came home, I always felt like an outsider. Years of being ignored, plus my beta status, eventually made me as quiet and withdrawn as my dad. After graduation, with no job in sight, my stepmother started arranging blind dates. She said my half-brother's condition had worsened and he needed urgent surgery. The family couldn't afford the medical bills, but if I got married, the bride price would help cover the costs. I didn't want to trade my marriage for money, but looking at my father's hunched back and the cigarette glowing all night between his fingers, I gave in. I went on the dates, but each person my stepmom arranged for disliked my silence and plain looks. The moment they heard there'd be no dowry money, I'd start nervously stammering, and everything would fall apart. After my fourth failed date, I met Corbin. He was the golden boy of S University, top student, campus heartthrob. Back in college, I admired him more than anyone. Everyone wanted to be someone like Corbin. So did I. People hiding in shadows always crave the light. Someone like him. If it weren't for that joint event between the finance and computer science departments, we probably would have never even met. And even then, we only exchanged contact info. After graduation, that tiny connection was basically nothing. I never expected to see him again, even less that he would be the one to strike up a conversation. I awkwardly explained why I was there, ears burning under my overgrown hair. When he heard I was upset about failed dates, he looked genuinely surprised. Then, with a kind smile, he said, "How about marrying me, then? My family's been bugging me about it too. You help me deal with the pressure, I help you with the financial trouble. What do you think?" That lazy, upward tilt in his voice at "what do you think" made my heart pound. I clutched my chest and ran off in a panic. When I got home, I heard my dad sigh quietly. "Your brother's condition's worse. He needs surgery." Your Aunt Shen and I decided to sell the house to help cover it. That house was the only thing of value we had left. I stared at his hunched silhouette in the doorway, then messaged Corbin. His reply came quickly. "I'm really glad. Looking forward to working with you." The wedding happened soon after. The bride price Corbin provided saved my brother's life, and brought my family back from the edge. I was truly grateful to Corbin, so no matter how many people said I didn't deserve him, I just pretended I couldn't hear them. When the doves were released at the ceremony, he leaned in and kissed me. That was the first time I understood what it meant for your knees to go weak, and for your brain to feel like fireworks were exploding inside it. After marriage, Corbin was respectful and reserved. He never crossed any boundaries without my permission, but truthfully, there were very few times I ever said no. Over time, the marriage started to feel more and more real, and Corbin and I grew closer and closer. If I hadn't stumbled into that basement a few days ago, maybe this happiness could have lasted a little longer. 3. Thinking about all that, I let out a long breath. A colleague tapped me on the shoulder. "Dawson, it's my birthday tonight. Wanna come to the party?" There'd be a lot of people at the party. That alone made me instinctively want to say no, but before I could, he sighed. "You never come to anything, not even my birthday." I invited the whole office. "You're the only one missing." I hesitated. "What time will it end?" The moment he heard hope, his face lit up. 8. "We'll end at 8 sharp. I'll take you home myself. You won't miss your curfew." I don't have a curfew. I just didn't want to be home too late, because Corbin usually got off work early, and I didn't want him to be alone. "Alright then, 8 sharp. I promise. I'll get you home safe." I hesitated a while longer, then nodded. Right after my colleague left, Corbin messaged me. "Baby, what time are you getting off work?" I typed, erased, typed again, just managed to get out a sentence, then got called away by my supervisor. By the time work ended and I had a chance to look at my phone, there were a dozen messages and missed calls from Corbin. I suddenly didn't know how to face them. While I was still hesitating, my colleague came over. "Let's go. Get in the car." I quickly shut off my phone and climbed in. The party was lively. Everyone had fun, except me. I realized I still didn't like crowded places. Watching everyone drink and cheer, I poked at my food absent-mindedly, and then, out of nowhere, a thought hit me. This food isn't as good as my husband's cooking. I froze. "Dawson, what the hell are you thinking? You're about to divorce him." Cursing myself viciously, I focused on eating. When dinner finally ended, I checked the time. 8:30. I panicked and stood up, ready to leave. My colleague apologized and offered to drive me back. I glanced at the still-packed party and shook my head. "No worries. Have fun. I'll grab a ride." I finally managed to get a cab, and by the time I got home, it was almost 9:30. All the lights were still on. I hesitated at the door. I lifted my sleeve and took a quick sniff. Nothing weird. Then unlocked the door and stepped inside. "You're back." I jumped like a startled cat, every hair standing on end. Corbin was leaning against the dining table. His voice was calm, gentle. I fumbled. "Yeah, I'm back." He walked over, still wearing that warm smile. "Working late tonight?" I messaged you but didn't get a reply. I nodded vaguely, then saw the food on the table. You cooked? Corbin reached out and took off my coat. Dinner was ready by 7. I've been waiting for you. I touched my overly full stomach and let guilt swallow me whole. Why hadn't I told him? Letting him wait like that. Sorry. I had to stay late, then a colleague bought dinner, and I just grabbed something too. I lowered my head, hiding in the shadows, not daring to meet his eyes. Corbin chuckled softly and placed a hand on my head, gently ruffling my hair. It's alright. If you're already full, go wash up. I'll put the food in the fridge. He was so understanding. It just made me feel worse. Even the thought of divorce started to fade. I reached out, grabbed his hand, and rose on tiptoe to give him a light hug. I'm sorry. Corbin paused, then wrapped his arms around me and sighed into my hair. It's okay, but next time, let me know ahead of time. Otherwise, the ingredients just go to waste. Okay, baby? I nodded. My chest felt tight and sore. Okay. 4. After washing up, I lay on the big bed, staring at our huge wedding photo on the wall, fingers nervously twisting. Corbin, such a golden child, yet after marriage, he's so accommodating to me. Maybe the stuff in the basement isn't even his. Maybe the surveillance cameras are just to keep burglars out. After all, there are plenty of valuables at home, and having a tracker on my phone doesn't necessarily mean spying. It could be for protection. With a family that big and powerful, surely there are many enemies. If I ever got kidnapped or extorted, that tracker would be the best way to find me. Wearing my silk pajamas, I kept reassuring myself, and the thought of divorce grew fainter, almost disappearing. Baby, I washed this coat for you, Corbin called out. I jumped up and headed to the bathroom. Which one? He held up the camel-colored coat I'd worn today. This one. It had a terrible smell. Did something spill on it? I scratched my head and thought for a while. No, nothing. Corbin's smile faded a bit. Then it must be the scent of pheromones. I nodded. Probably. Corbin leaned in to sniff it, his perfect profile inches from me. My infatuation flared up again. It's pretty strong. Were you really that close to someone else? No, I wasn't. Anyway, I'm a beta. I wouldn't even notice. Are you sure you didn't smell wrong? I didn't get close to anyone today. I see. Corbin smiled. Did you finish your shower? I nodded, shaking out my damp hair, water droplets flying. Corbin tossed the coat into the washing machine and poured in a lot of detergent. I was about to ask why, but he stood up and walked over. His strong fingers lifted my black hair. With a lazy, slightly helpless voice, he said, "Why didn't you dry your hair again?" I tried to dodge back, but one hand wrapped around my waist. Next thing I knew, Corbin had scooped me up horizontally. Be good, go dry your hair first. I wanted to resist, but then gave up. Holding a hairdryer was tiring. If Corbin wanted to help, fine. I was habitually placed on the bathroom counter. The warm air from the dryer and Corbin's gentle fingers teasing my hair made me feel calm. I looked into the mirror at the two of us, one tall, one short, with contrasting skin tones, and suddenly realized something strange. The way Corbin had poured so much detergent. Though he does do laundry sometimes, it's usually just my smaller clothes. Besides, that coat shouldn't be machine washed. Before I could stop myself, the thought blurted out, "Corbin, are you jealous?" His fingers froze in my hair, and he switched off the dryer. A soft kiss landed on my crown. As your husband, I think jealousy is normal. Because I love you, I feel possessive. My head spun. All I could focus on was that one phrase, I love you. Corbin had said those words many times, but mostly in bed, when neither of us were fully sober. This, facing me clearly and soberly, that was the first time. I suddenly felt awkward, not knowing where to put my hands or feet. But I love you too. I just don't get possessive over you. Corbin pinched my waist and kissed me suddenly. When he pulled away, I was gasping, collapsing into his arms. If I did that to someone else, would you be happy? My confused brain struggled to process that. Corbin kissing someone else, just imagining it sent a dull ache through my chest. So that's why I feel possessive over Corbin. Before I could figure it out, Corbin carried me to the bedroom. Baby, I see you haven't been sleeping well these days. I warmed some milk for you. He handed me a warm cup of milk. Without thinking, and without noticing the hidden meaning in his eyes or the flash of obsession, I took the cup and drank it all down. The milk was sweeter than usual. I licked my lips. Did you put sugar in this? Corbin didn't answer but brushed my stray hair back and pressed his forehead to mine. No sugar. I got lost in his eyes, feeling dizzy. When my vision blurred, I finally realized something was wrong. I turned to look at the empty cup and connected the dots with the surveillance. The tracker. And the basement. Did you drug me? Before I could finish the sentence, my mind went blank, and my eyes uncontrollably closed. Just before losing consciousness, I heard Corbin's gentle voice. Baby, I could have kept this up a lot longer. Why did you mention divorce? 5. When I woke up again, my whole body was sore but nothing else hurt. I tried to open my eyes and look around. The room was unfamiliar. There was only a bed. Nothing else. I lifted my hand to rub my temple but stopped when I felt something tugging at my wrist. Looking down, I saw a chain as thick as my thumb. Calling it a chain was an exaggeration. It looked more like a sex toy. My inner voice screamed in panic. What the hell is going on? I tried to piece together my memory, and the foggy thought that came to me was, maybe Corbin had locked me up. So, does that mean I don't have to go to work? The thought hit me so hard I slapped myself across the face. Dawson, what are you thinking? The pain snapped me clearer, and at that moment, the door opened. I looked up. Corbin was entering. His expression immediately turned cold when he saw my face. This was the first time in 3 years of marriage I'd seen him with such a stern look. It was like he and the usual gentle, polite Corbin were two different people. Before I could react, he was already in front of me. His cold fingertips touched my face, soothing the burning pain. Why did you hit yourself? Seriously? How dare he ask that? I raised my chained wrist, the metal clinking. What's this? Corbin hooked his hand around it. To lock you up, so you never see anyone else. That way, you won't want a divorce. I caught the meaning behind his words instantly. So Corbin thinks I want a divorce because I'm cheating? I was stunned. Even if I liked someone else, would that person even like me? I wanted to challenge him on that, but dared not. When I met his cold, accusing eyes, I couldn't say a word. I'm not seeing anyone else. My throat was dry, each word like a struggle. Corbin seemed unwilling to listen. He raised a finger and pressed it against my lips. Shh, don't say it. You always reported to me before, but that night you wouldn't even reply. You came home late, smelling of awful pheromones and booze. Baby, is this what you call not seeing anyone else? His eyes reddened. The gentle gentleman image was gone. You've always been obedient. Someone must have been poisoning your mind, right? Tell me who he is. Baby, my cheeks were squished by his hands, making it impossible to respond to his ridiculous accusations. I didn't. Corbin was lost in his own suspicions and didn't hear me. You want a divorce? Can you even leave your husband? I've made you into someone so polished and refined, only the best Longjing tea for you. He undid my buttons, biting my collarbone with his teeth, nibbling between his lips and teeth. You only sleep on soft beds, cover yourself with silk quilts, wear custom-made designer clothes tailored by the family tailor. My stomach began to hurt. I lifted my chin as tears poured down my cheeks. Corbin sighed and kissed each tear away. So timid, so delicate, and still want a divorce? His fingers teased my lips like a playful puppy. Still talking about divorce? Still want a divorce? His voice was authoritative, like he expected me to give the answer he wanted. I had almost let go of the idea of divorce, but in this moment, pain and anger made it grow stronger. I gripped Corbin's arm tightly and forced out one word from my throat. Divorce. 6. Silence fell over everything. Even breathing became cautious and quiet. Corbin slowly loosened his grip. A tear slid down my cheek, tracing a path to my neck. His fingertips pressed gently against my throbbing pulse. Corbin looked up, his usual warm and gentle expression returning. Say it again, baby. I swallowed hard, my heartbeat slowing. The touch on my neck felt like a sharp blade, and my body screamed a harsh warning of danger. Suddenly, I felt overwhelmed with sadness. I pushed Corbin away without thinking. I want a divorce. You're spying on me, installing trackers, even putting cameras in the bathroom, and those things in your basement. I completely broke down. From discovering all those secrets, to confirming it was Corbin, to seeing his true face, it was all too much. My vision blurred with tears, and I felt pathetic. Grabbing Corbin's arm, who stood helpless beside me, I bit down hard. The more upset I was, the harder I bit. Only when I tasted blood did I let go. Corbin's expression didn't change one bit. He even raised an eyebrow and held out his other, unbitten arm. Go ahead, bite it. Once you do, we won't talk about divorce again. I refused to bite again and tried to push him away to get up. Then I realized my ankle was locked with a golden chain too. Unlock it. Corbin shook his head. No. We reached a stalemate. Who is that person? I turned to him in disbelief. Did you hear what I just said? Corbin nodded. Yes. If he heard, why ask about that person? Is there even such a person? I kicked away the hand rubbing my ankle. What did I say? Corbin grabbed my other foot and tightened his grip. I couldn't break free, my skin must have gone red. You said you want a divorce. I tried to steady my breathing, waiting for him to say more. And then, Corbin froze, his expression and gesture asking. And then, I knew what he meant. You just hear what you want to hear. Do you know why I want a divorce? Without asking me a single question. You imprison me like this, Corbin. I can't take it anymore. I'd lived 23 years, and this was the first time I'd spoken so much. Also the first time I showed my feelings so openly. Thanks to Corbin. Corbin was like a stone, impossible to communicate with. What else? Just watch me divorce you. There he goes again. I'd already given him the answer, but he still acted like this. No point talking. After all, how do you talk to a stubborn rock? I'm no princess with a jewel to soften him. That anger in me finally faded. Fine, do whatever you want. I want a divorce, and if you've got the guts, lock me up forever. No work, no social life. It was actually a relief. I quickly rolled toward the bed, putting as much distance as possible between me and that rock. Whenever Corbin heard the word divorce, his expression changed, cold and obsessive. He looked like a maniac. He stared at me for a long time with piercing eyes before finally standing and leaving. Before the door closed, I snapped, "Bring me my game console." The game deadline was tomorrow, and I was just one level away from beating it. All I got in response was the loud slam of the locked door. 7. I clutched the corner of the blanket, counting quietly while lost in thought. Had Corbin taken leave for me? That meant I'd missed perfect attendance again this month. My mind ran over my savings, 8 figures in the bank. But then I thought, if we divorce, none of it would be mine anymore, and a wave of gloom washed over me. I decided to give Corbin one more chance. If he didn't explain this time, then I would go through with the divorce. Not in a great mood, I counted up to 314 seconds. Just as I was about to reach 315, Corbin walked in carrying dinner. Next to the plate was my game console. As he approached, I reached out to grab it. Unexpectedly, Corbin seemed to anticipate this and pressed my hand down. Eat first, then play. I eyed the plate, 3 meat dishes and 1 vegetable, and my appetite was instantly piqued. But I still remembered my anger and stubbornly turned my face away. I want a divorce. Corbin ignored me, picked up a cola chicken wing with his chopsticks, and held it to my lips. Eat first. I couldn't stay annoyed, opened my mouth, and bit into the wing. The flavor exploded in my mouth. That meal was satisfying, for both me and Corbin, who fed me with care. After swallowing the last spoonful of soup, I reached for my game console. Corbin didn't stop me but asked, "Still want a divorce?" I pressed the power button hard. Yes. Corbin's grip on the plate tightened, veins bulging on his hands and forehead. His voice was controlled yet obsessive, trying to sound gentle. "Baby, is the food not good?" I turned off the console. So what? What does that have to do with the divorce? Why was it so hard for him to explain? I hurriedly wiped tears from my eyes and turned my body toward the wall. "Corbin, you're the one who wants the divorce." Corbin set the plate down and wrapped me tightly around the waist. A warm kiss landed on the back of my neck. If I were an Omega, that would be a gland. But I'm a Beta. It was just a flat patch of skin. I remembered what some younger relatives said when I came home before. Corbin is an S-level alpha. Marrying a Beta. What about the monthly heat period? I hid in the bathroom, thinking, I'll need to take a week off during your heat. But after arguing that, a deep loneliness surged inside me. Yeah, even though during those times Corbin would pin me to the bed, he always secretly got injections afterward. The needle marks on his arm were as dense as the kiss marks on my skin. Thinking of that, I pressed my hand to my chest. The idea of divorce flickered alive again. Like a dying ember reignited, Corbin held me tighter, his hot breath brushing my ear. "Give me some time. I'll explain everything to you." "Okay." I didn't nod, just relaxed my tense body. Our hearts were so close, yet so far apart. I'd finished my game levels days ago, but Corbin wasn't ready. When he brought in another delicious-looking meal later, I couldn't help but ask, how much longer do I have to wait? Since revealing his true self, Corbin no longer held back. His expressions shifted instantly, smiling 1 second, serious the next. "I'm not ready yet. Eat first." I didn't know if he truly wasn't ready or just didn't want to tell me. Either way, I'd run out of patience. I wanted a divorce but also didn't want one. It felt like 2 Dawsons lived in my head, their voices shouting and arguing until my brain nearly exploded. "I'm giving you 10 minutes. After that, I want an answer." Maybe my tone was too cold or too firm, but this time Corbin didn't brush me off. He quietly put down the plate. I faced away, staring at the white wall, wondering what his explanation would be. 10 minutes later, I sat up and turned around, stunned. Corbin was crying. It was the first time I'd seen him cry. He wept silently, tears streaming down his face, looking so pitiful. I was at a loss. Why are you crying? I haven't even cried yet. I'm only giving you an explanation, not asking for your life. Why are you crying? I wiped his tears awkwardly. Corbin grabbed my hand and kissed my fingertips softly. You know betas can't carry pheromones, right? I nodded. Of course I knew. So what does that have to do with you installing cameras and trackers? Corbin didn't answer but asked. Do you know the higher ranked the alpha, the more insecure they are? That I didn't know. Wait, so you installed cameras and trackers because you feel insecure? Corbin nodded. Have I ever told you about my two fathers? My dad and my papa, and my childhood? I shook my head. I rarely went to the main family mansion. The few times I did, I saw Corbin's father, an alpha with a sharp, commanding presence. Even a few simple questions from him overwhelmed me. I didn't like those arrogant relatives, and they looked down on me for being a beta, so I always found excuses to skip family gatherings. Eventually, Corbin thought I disliked the noisy scene and stopped going back often. I hadn't heard a thing about his father or papa. When I once tried to ask about his childhood, he brushed it off. Now that he said he'd tell me, I was curious. Corbin gently hooked my hand. Both my fathers are alphas. That sentence fried my brain. Alpha and alpha, how do you have a kid? Shocked, I stared at Corbin. You're not your dad's biological son. Corbin looked at me steadily, a red tint at the corner of his eyes as he chuckled and pinched my cheek. Blushing, I looked away. Why tease me when you look so good smiling? Corbin caught my flustered glance and pulled me into a tight hug. See, your husband is all yours. Blushing, I pushed him away. Husband, soon to be ex-husband. Corbin didn't like that and his face darkened, as if a storm was coming. I gritted my teeth. Fine, then just get on with it. Go on. Corbin grabbed my hand and nipped my finger hard. I'm the biological son of my alpha dad. My mouth dropped open, big enough to fit an egg. So your alpha father had your alpha dad, have you? Yes. Corbin traced my lips with his fingertip, eyes sparkling with familiar desire. A double alpha family? Wasn't alpha reproductive ability supposed to have degenerated? How could pregnancy happen? By force? Maybe my confusion showed on my face. Because Corbin explained, my dad almost died giving birth to me. That's why my other father hated me. I was a soft spot to hold him back, but I nearly killed him instead. What? Who's the soft spot? Who's holding back whom? Suddenly, my Chinese felt insufficient to understand. Corbin went on. Unfortunately, I was useless. My father ran away at my first birthday party. Wait, though it's rude to interrupt, I couldn't help it. Why did your dad run away? Didn't he love your other father? Corbin looked confused. Why would they love each other? My dad isn't in love with my other father. He was my uncle's fiancé before my other father stole him away. High society is too complicated. I wanted to go back home. I felt dizzy as Corbin held me tight. I don't know if they love each other. I only know they both put trackers on each other, because alphas have ridiculous insecurities. In Corbin's deep, elegant voice, I slowly understood where his obsession came from. Inheritance. His father was a control freak, but his papa wasn't much better. Subdermal trackers, real-time reporting. He wasn't even the biological child of the man who raised him, yet he developed such strong possessiveness toward the man who stole him. Corbin's father installed cameras at home. Corbin's papa put trackers on his lover. So now Corbin was doing both, cameras and trackers. Learn the bad, not the good. I lay weakly in Corbin's arms, thinking maybe this wasn't all his fault. His family never taught him healthy values. That's why he learned to copy these controlling behaviors. A blurry memory flashed before my eyes. Little Corbin in a tiny suit, pounding desperately on a locked door with no answer. He sat on the steps, hugging his knees and crying pitifully. My heart softened immediately. But you don't have to learn it from your fathers, right? You know it's wrong. I tried to reason with him gently. Corbin kissed my face softly. But I'm so insecure. I can't leave my scent on you. Yet every day you come home smelling of other people. It was the first time I'd faced Corbin's jealousy head-on. By then, he was practically sucking the flesh off my cheek. So, baby, please don't divorce me, okay? Corbin lost his earlier coldness, like a fallen god pleading for mercy. His careful tone made my heart melt completely. My hand, hovering in midair, finally landed on Corbin. Just as tightly as he held me, I held him back. I stepped out of that empty room at the end of the hallway. When Corbin unlocked my chains, he seemed reluctant. I felt reluctant leaving too. Honestly, I didn't want to go back to work. I wanted to stay there, being cared for and fed, living like that forever, but I couldn't. I couldn't let Corbin fight for our home alone. I slowly convinced myself, and finally pushed the thought of you locked me up again deep inside. 8. I returned to the regular 9-to-5 routine. Corbin started picking me up and dropping me off every day. Everyone at the company envied my luck, having a handsome, wealthy husband. I said nothing, just kept hitting the snooze button on my alarm clock that went off every 10 minutes. Then I opened our chat window to report what I was doing in real time. Life went on quietly for a few days until I remembered the basement. Did you buy all those things in the basement yourself? After everything settled, my weak legs rested on Corbin's shoulder as I gave him a tired glare. Corbin didn't think he'd done anything wrong. Shamelessly, he said, those things are useless. I felt tired and angry and stomped on the source of my exhaustion. What do you want to do then? Are those things even usable by people? I shook off his hand holding my ankle and gave my final order. Get rid of all of it by tomorrow. I want to check after work. Corbin was displeased but stood up and kissed me. A kiss can ignite desire like nothing else. That night was reckless again. The next day, I left work early and went to the basement. The glass display case was full. I pulled out my phone to call someone, but before dialing, a raised button on the case caught my eye. I pressed it. With a rumble, the wall opposite the case opened. Warm lights revealed a red satin box inlaid with jewels. I walked over and opened it, stunned. Inside were no gold or jewels, just scattered little trinkets, bottle caps, cigarette butts, pen caps, even a white shirt. I recognized that shirt. It was from a club I joined in college. At every big event, they gave us matching outfits with our names embroidered. My heart pounded, spreading to my palms. I swallowed and picked up the shirt, flipping it open. The name, Dawson, was stitched on it. The shirt was mine. But what about all these things? Just as I started trying to remember, a pair of hands quietly wrapped around my waist, like a ghost. Before I could be startled, a familiar body was there. It was Corbin. What's all this? Corbin reached past me to pick things from the box. For each, he explained, in a low, hoarse voice, warm yet tinged with obsession and extreme pathology. This is the last bottle of water you drank at your sophomore sports meet. This is the first cigarette you ever smoked. This is the first love letter I wrote you. My surprise and confusion shifted into numb stiffness. So Corbin had been secretly in love with me back in college? Does that mean all those times I thought I was sneaking glances, Corbin had caught them all? I wasn't sure if I felt embarrassed or something else, but the feeling tangled tightly around my heart. I weakly covered his mouth. Stop talking. Corbin looked steadily at me, his pale eyes filled only with me. Can I show you one last thing? I nodded. He pulled out a stack of papers from the bottom of the box. I took them. Medical records. Patient Corbin, confirmed pheromone disorder. Severe reaction to omega and alpha pheromones. Beta status uncertain. Patient Corbin, confirmed severe paranoia. Requires medication control. Patient Corbin, gland damage. Unable to receive destined omega. Dependent on beta partner. Out of countless records, I only saw the one about gland damage. Nervously, I grabbed Corbin and asked hoarsely, what does this mean? What's wrong with your gland? Why is it damaged? Corbin hugged me and kissed the corner of my eye. I only love you. Only you. This lifetime. An S-level alpha's heat period is intense. Without an omega's pheromones to soothe him, he suffers terribly. But his wife is a beta, so he chose to lose the gland. All he wants is his wife. I understood what Corbin meant. A bitter lump rising in my throat. You acted too impulsively. Corbin cupped my face, forehead resting against mine. No, I thought it through carefully. Loving you was the one thing I considered carefully. For 1 second, I dropped the medical records and kissed Corbin willingly. Get treatment, I'll be with you. Corbin paused. How long will you stay with me? I willingly pressed into his embrace. For a lifetime, Corbin replied softly. A lifetime. You stay with me a lifetime. I love you a lifetime. 9. Corbin's side story. Actually, I left those things in the basement on purpose for my husband to find. I wanted him to see the real me, so I deliberately let him get things from the bedside table, deliberately let him find the cameras. But after he really knew, I regretted it, because Dawson asked for a divorce. In that instant, a corner of my world collapsed. I tried to hide the shattered ice beneath a calm surface, but when Dawson came home smelling of unfamiliar scents, my rationality shattered completely. I poured the prepared medicine steadily into a glass of milk, hands unwavering. Dawson explained why he was late, but I couldn't hear a word. All I saw was him saying he wanted a divorce. That he was leaving me. If he really left my world, it would be completely gone. I remember the first time I saw him, at the start of freshman year. As a senior, we were supposed to welcome the freshmen. I hated these occasions where I had to keep up a mask. I took a cigarette and went to the bathroom. Nicotine eased my irritation. One cigarette kept me in gentleman mode for 4 hours, but I didn't expect anyone else to be there. I coldly met Dawson's eyes as he pushed the stall door open. I saw panic in his eyes under thick bangs and black-rimmed glasses. He looked like he'd just cried, red around the edges, like a rabbit. He gave off no pheromones, no alpha, no omega, only a beta, a poor little beta, like a rabbit. I crushed out the cigarette in my fingers. Heat spread from my fingertips to my heart. He awkwardly greeted me. I smiled back. That night, in my dreams, he cried even harder when I teased him, calling me brother, senior, husband, begging for mercy. Not knowing it only made me more excited. I woke up, staring at the wet spot on the bed, and realized I understood what love at first sight was. He said the day my father came home from abroad as my uncle's fiancé, he decided that Alpha must be his. I have to admit, I have my father's despicable genes. Right now, I want to say that Beta has to be mine. I want to hold him, but I can't yet. I watched my father's spies monitor me, hiding my desires deep inside. Father demands a lot from me. I have to wear a mask every day, but now I don't just want to survive. I want power, because I finally have what I want. I started getting involved in the company, with Dad's help. At the social event, I noticed Dawson's careful, shy glances at me. I realized maybe he liked me too. I held back for a long time, then finally asked for his contact with a smile. Seeing his happy face holding the phone made my desire grow. I want to bring my father down faster. 3 years, just 3 years. But an accident happened. Dad found the shares were maliciously acquired. He wanted to investigate, but Dad interfered. I began my final harvest. I went to him. He wanted to go on blind dates. I smiled on the surface and calmed him, but inside I was grinding my teeth. I used the excuse of family pressuring for marriage to lure him gently. He took the bait, and the moment he agreed, my basement was officially finished. After marriage, Dawson relied on me a lot. During my heat period, he would carefully hold me and say, "Husband, I'll help you." An S-level alpha's heat is violent and insecure. He bites my neck repeatedly, trying to pour his pheromones into me, but he can't, and they don't stick. To prevent me from going crazy and hurting him, I chose to lose my gland. The injections during heat weren't suppressants, they shrank the gland. I deliberately didn't repair the needle marks. Seeing Dawson tenderly let me do what I want fills me with both satisfaction and greed. What would he do if he knew my true self? Would he divorce me? Would he leave me? That thought darkened my heart, and the urge to lock him up grew wildly like new branches after rain. I know I inherited the mental illnesses of my father and Papa. I don't want to hurt Dawson, so I saw a psychiatrist. The doctor said I need inpatient treatment. I refused and left. Without Dawson, my illness can't be treated. I'm afraid to show him my true self. I fear the love in his eyes would turn to fear. So I endured 3 years of endurance, but I found I couldn't hold on anymore. Rather than Dawson discovering the truth by accident, I want to reveal it myself. Just as I expected, he asked for a divorce. I went to my father, who gave me a box of injections, potassium cyanide magnesium A2, medicine that induces beta secondary differentiation, turning them into omegas. A secondarily differentiated omega marked by an alpha can never leave. But I was useless. I looked at the person who said he'd stay with me to heal my sickness forever, and pushed the medicine box deep inside. Let me see how long a lifetime with my husband really is. I hope it truly is a lifetime.